Global warming can potentially put our way of life at risk. But what is global warming? Global warming is the rise in planetary temperatures and change in climate, including the sea level and changing of biomes. Why is this so dangerous? Well, with a drastic change in temperature, this can cause natural disasters, for example, hurricanes and etc., putting our way of life at risk if we don't stop emissions halfway by 2050. Now that you understand what global warming is, you gotta now understand what's causing it. Research shows that when the topic of global warming comes up amongst the community, they tend to go into denial in order to protect the brain from stress and anxiety. But most don't realize humanity's been doing carbon emissions for thousands of years with no major effect upon the earth. Up until the Industrial Revolution, which created and birthed many CO2 based objects such as factories and, of course, vehicles, which would become the main force of transportation to this day and also a main factor of CO2 emission to this day. In some way, it became a commodity and like a social norm in this present time. But why is that a problem? It's a problem because it makes it difficult environment for environmentally friendly vehicles to make a splash on the automobile scene. Due to the connection and preference many people have towards fuel-based vehicles, this is also the downside of how far the electric-based vehicle can travel. Research shown that the average full charge of an electric vehicle is 120 to 300 miles. Meanwhile, the full charge of a fuel-based vehicle, like any other car out there, is regularly 200 to 400 miles. That's a huge increase. Although there's no perfect solution for all these problems and setbacks and preferences in the world, there is one that could hopefully balance on both sides, which is CSS. Carbon capture storage. This is a process of capturing CO2 emission from factories and storing it underground so less CO2 gets released into the atmosphere. But this isn't a solve all solution because there's still CO2 everywhere, but it will hopefully create a pathway for further info and more ideas to come along. There's also the plan of just going automotive and electrical all around, but that'll cause too much controversy in the public because nobody's communicating, nobody's stating their opinions, and they can't come upon an agreement when stating those opinions. Only we can really, solve global warming because we caused it. And me personally, I believe it's possible, but it's gonna take, a communal approach by the rest of the world. I'd like to thank Gran Turismo and Matthew Hart on the how many miles does a full tank of gas last. I'd like to thank Energy Sage for the pros and cons of electric cars. Sarah Gorman and Jack M. Gordon for the Climate Change Denial Psychology Today reviewed. And finally, Bennett L. for 5 reasons why we don't care about climate change.